Welcome to the Social Dig, the late night call-in show edition. As we go ahead and jump in here and try to have an after show tonight. I said, why not do it? I got home in time, and I was like, okay, let's go ahead and set it up. So we are going to do the late night call-in show tonight, right here on the Social Dig. Me, your host, Mr. Rob G. And normally I give my opening, so we'll start like this. Welcome to the Social Dig, the greatest underrated show on the World Wide Web. I'm your host, Mr. Rob G. And tonight we'll be jumping into the topics that get you talking and the talk that keeps you thinking. So come on in, kick your feet up, get an ice cold beverage, and get ready to join the conversation. As we go ahead and look and see who's come in here. I know it's early. This is unexpected. We haven't done this for a while. And I definitely want to shout out people who have shown up so far. We got, let's see, we got, welcome to the show, Major Lee. We got Joe Monk in the building. We got Lavera Lakini. Hey, Lavera. We have Deb from Sacramento. We have Ciela Azul. We have Cosmic Joe Chronicles. Miss Catherine Jones. Hey, we got Hillbilly Herb. And we got Juliana McGill. So, yeah, so far so good. We're doing really good. We had an awesome day today. I mean, I can't complain. It's been, we had a great show earlier today. In case you missed it, we did a show, UFO, definitive UFO news show, kind of just talking about the drone situation and why it's important to kind of keep this still in the conversation. And, I think we could probably talk some more about that here tonight because it's still something that I feel really strongly about. Not just the drone thing in particular, but just the way that we in ufology kind of move on. We move on so quickly on to the next thing. And maybe it's not just ufology, society in general, really. The attention span of society is so short. And, I don't know if maybe the government and the people who hide the secrets count on that. Maybe they like that fact. They like the fact that our attention span is so short because then that means that it's a tool to help them kind of obfuscate without them even needing to do anything, right? Because we do it on our own. We're just so ready to move on to the next thing, the next news cycle that it benefits them in the long run. If we just stuck on something and didn't let it go, then that they'd be deathly afraid of that, I would think. Um, and I think that's proven. I think that's a proven thing. So, as hosting the show, it's kind of, a duty that you have. If you see something like that, point it out, say something about it. And actually, there's a few things that I want to talk about tonight because there is, and I kind of touched on this a little bit on the after hour show. If you were there, if you weren't there, make sure that you go over and check out Spaced Out Radio. We always have awesome shows over there. The After Hours Radio Show, Saturdays and Sundays, 8 p.m. Pacific until 11 p.m. Great guests, great conversation, and just, a great experience, a great place for people to come chat. A lot of you have come from over there. So we already know what the chat is like. The chat is always lit. It's always, very intelligent conversations going on in the chat. And it's a place where definitely people who are just now coming into this field, people who are just realizing that UFOs are real. Some of those are just, young people that are finding their way. And some of them are older people who never thought that this could be a thing and now they're finally coming to this realization because as we look around and we pointed out there's so many people out there who have never had an experience, who know that there's something to this, who totally understand the possibilities of there being something in the vastness of space, as vast as it is and potentially infinite as it is. There's some people who have never had an experience at all who just understand that there has to be more to this. And there's another side of us that have had experiences and know there's another side to this. And there is another side to this community who actually just take advantage of the situation. And I definitely want to talk about that a little bit here. And I'm trying to figure out a way. I want to, obviously, when if you've ever seen a skeptic show, a show where a skeptic has, their skeptical point of view on ufology, they always point out certain things about ufology. They say it's like a cult, it's like it's like a religion, and all those things. And you know, if you're being truthful with yourself and you're within the community, you can understand what they mean when they say that, right? There are definitely some things that ring true in that criticism of the community, and we know because we're in the community that it's not a generalization of everyone in the community. We know there's a particular segment of the community that description fits. What I think some skeptics don't understand is, and people just on the outside, when they look at UFOs, ufology, if you want to call it that, um, that they're that it's not all like that. And I think that might be the case with a lot of things that we look at in life when we look at it from the outside, right? We just have a preconceived notion of what it is that we're looking at. And I'm trying to formulate putting together a show, and I'm just really trying to think about how to angle it and how to come at it. But I want to talk from as a person within the community and kind of point out what those things are, as far as those people outside the community, uh, or those people within the community that might fit that description, right? Because when I look around, people who come here to this show, people who go to Spaced Out Radio, there are definitely a group of people who genuinely want the truth and want answers. They get into this field, to see where humanity goes next, um, to figure out what this is all about. What the story really is all about. But there is a subset of the community that doesn't care about that at all. That simply wants to take advantage of others who believe. So some of those people you, who don't question anything, and the people who just simply believe that there's UFOs, and you could tell a person who believes, you could tell them anything, you could tell them any kind of story, and they'll give you benefit of the doubt, and they'll just believe it. And there's a portion of this community that preys on those type of individuals and then kind of feeds them or steers them in the wrong direction. And I think there's something to be said about that. And I'm trying to figure out a way to do a show that illustrates that without alienating, those who are being taken advantage of, because um, I think it's very important that as we are breaking the stigma of UFOs just in the world period with outside groups that we talk to, we also want to break the stigma of how our community is viewed. And I don't like hearing, skeptics or people from the outside point at this community as being this fanatical religious group of just people who believe. Believers is a word I really hate to use. I don't even like using that word because it gives religious tones to it, right? And it's we know it's more than that. It's not about believing, it's about experiencing. And I don't know how we're going to do it, but it definitely is something that we need to accomplish. We need to find a way, and I'm thinking really hard in how to kind of package it up in a nice, neat show where we can kind of point that out because you know and I think really with anything in life, there's always going to be an extreme group in every thing, in every group that you look at, every community that you look at. Um, but yeah, you know, that's the reason a reason why the stigma has been there, just on ufology itself, trying to get this out message out to the world. And that's kind of why they put the stigma on us, is because there is a subset of people in the community that make us all look bad, right? It's the easiest way to say it, easiest way to put it. Um, and I think that's it's a travesty, right? Because really, if you think about what the people who really want the answers and who are really in this to get to disclosure, those are people, just like this channel points out, this is a pro humanity channel where we do things to positively progress humanity. We have conversations to move the needle. That's what we do here. It's literally about that. It's not about believing something. It's not about making you believe something. It's not about, uh, leading you down a dead end road. It's not about any of that. It's about enlightening ourselves by having conversations with each other and figuring out what this phenomenon is. And I think that's totally separate from some of these, let's just call them some of the cult like behaviors that you will find, unfortunately, within the community. You know, I think Lou Elizondo tried to address it years ago when he said we need to blow up ufology. If you remember him saying that, this he actually meant what I'm saying right now, is that not we don't necessarily need to blow up everything within ufology, but we need to figure out a way to separate uh, the people who really are trying to get the answers and want the answers from the cult like side of the community. I know you guys are all aware of, you've looked around this community the same way I have, and I know that you know what those, you know, who might be the people that are leading those sort of cult like things, right? And it's the reason why I even say that or bring it up, not only because we get generalized and lumped in with those guys or those people in the community. It's also that I feel compassion for the people that are being taken advantage of, right? Because do you you have to ask yourself, do those people really realize that they're being taken advantage of? And the answer is probably no, because usually when with cult-like behaviors or cult-like activities, when those people finally come out of the cults, they always look back and wonder how they ever got there, or what it was. And so I think you're dealing with probably 90% of the people involved in that follow those sort of channels and individuals that they don't even know that they're in a cult. And, that's why I can be friends with skeptics and I can understand some of the things that they say, but I don't like the fact that they generalize the entire community when they make statements. I think it's definitely not true when you label the entire community as religious fanatics or just believers that believe, right? And it's kind of tough because the only way that that can change is it has to change from within, has to change from the inside. So that means people who we have to find those people who are in the cult side of that of the conversation, wake those people up somehow. And the cult leaders can only have power if the people under them allow that to take place. And I just really feel like if you awaken those individuals, that's how you kind of you know destroy that part of ufology, and maybe even move on to a different name, because I hate ufology the name, because it just makes it sound like a religion, right? Scientology, ufology. It sounds like, I think we need to sit at the table and come up with a different name for what we're doing, because I don't know if we should be satisfied with being lumped into a name like ufology. You know, there's stigma behind that, and it's something we probably should try to get away from. And I think that's when people point towards UAP, UFO sort of thing. I think that's kind of an example of what that is too, because UFO obviously is the term that we know, but UFO also ties to ufology. It's the root of the word ufology, and therefore if UFO means ufology, and the people on the outside and skeptics look at ufology as a cult-like atmosphere, religious sort of atmosphere, then the stigma is actually on the word UFO, right? Think going down that logical thought process, that's what it is. And that's why I think people try to get away from the word UFO, even though we feel like they shouldn't, because UFO is what we know. But I think it has to do with exactly what I'm talking about. And we would do ourselves, we would do ourselves so much just to find a way to separate ourselves from that part of the community, because there are obviously experiencers that we know of, legitimate, but then there's a subset that are just totally not legitimate. There really is. There's a portion of the community that over embellishes, or makes up stories to serve themselves. And you could probably, if you have, you know, excuse me, if you have some if you're able to use common sense, which we all have, then you can look around and kind of see where that's at. And that's why I think, when you look around also, I think I think people are afraid to call out those sort of individuals, because we are all part of the same community technically. And so it's like infighting, I guess, is what that would be considered potentially. But it's really something that we need to figure out. So I'm trying to figure out, with all that being said, I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of lay that out in the show. I did a show about a year ago, maybe almost 2 years ago, actually, which was a show called versus Skeptical versus Non-Skeptical something, where essentially it was looking at both sides of the conversation and pointing out the fact that even on the skeptical side, there are extreme skeptics, hard skeptics that just will never open their minds up to the conversation. And then on the non-skeptic side, I use non-skeptic because I didn't want to use believer, but on the non-skeptic side, there are like hardcore believers that you don't have to show evidence to, you don't have to do anything. They'll just believe what you say. And I think both sides of that conversation, both extreme sides, usually shouldn't be part of the conversation, because there is no open-minded approach or reasoning to, the thought process that's had. So, and it's controversial for somebody within the community to say something like that, because I don't hear anyone saying it, but it's something that should be said. So, um, definitely something that I had to address. Let me go ahead and go into the chat. I haven't got to see what's going on here. I definitely want to make sure that you guys are included in the convo, because this is the late night calling show, and we do this for you. So, let me go ahead and take a look here. Let's see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see some stuff here, and I definitely want to point this stuff out here. Let me see. Okay. All right. So, okay, Juliana McGill says skeptics equal uninformed. Yeah, I mean, um, uninformed. Yes, yes, for the most part. but there are just some skeptics that are the hard skeptics are just unreasonable. They're more than uninformed. They're just unreasonable. They won't open up to anything but their own belief. And that's the thing I pointed out in the show I did, is that even though those hard skeptics look at ufology and call people within ufology believers, hard skeptics are believers themselves. They believe in not believing, and they don't realize that they are just as bad as the people that they're pointing out. But yeah, I definitely think we definitely need some self policing within the community. We need to find a way to separate ourselves from the grift of ufology, which is very real, very real. I would never succumb to that. It's about integrity, and it's about caring about humanity and where we go from here, and what the actual truth is, and getting there, right? It's not about being a leader of a group and, oh, look at these people, they follow me and they do what I say. I- who who does that? Obviously, some people that we could point to, but let me go ahead and take a look here, and before I jump back into my rant here. Um, yes, Juliana McGill. He who says they have all the answers has yet to learn. Just keep questioning, and you should always be questioning. Overlander BC. That's exactly why I get so pissed off in the chat all the time. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can see that if you're coming up against those type of individuals, because for the most part, like viewers here are from over on Spaced Out Radio, so there are definitely, as proven, a lot of open-minded individuals that participate in the chat that are open to the conversation and open to leaning one way or the other depending on the evidence that's given. And that's how it should always be. And that I invite skeptics, I invite those type of skeptics into the conversation. So it's like, hey, we all have open minds. Let's talk about it, and let's see what sticks, what doesn't, and you know that's how you progress the conversation. And but like I said, you're going to run across a subset of people who don't fit that bill, and they just it's sad to say, and it's hard to say, right? Because you know, you don't want to discount an individual. You don't want to discount a person because they might be misled. They could be, like I was stating earlier, just because they're a hardcore believer that if you're talking about what they want to hear, then they'll just believe that because you're talking you're saying something that they want to hear. Um but then there's no questioning that come into play. So that's why Juliana McGill's comment was awesome, because she once again stated he who has all the answers says you have to learn, just keep questioning. And you have to be scared when you could sit in front of a group of people and no one has any input. They're just listening to what you say. They just are absorbing. You could be saying anything, and they're just going along with it. Yeah, I mean it's something that bugs me, and I look around the community and I see it, and I just, being a pro humanity type of person and a person who wants to move the needle forward, I have to say something about stuff like that. But I don't want to, I want to do it with class. I don't want to, you know, alienate a bunch of people. I just want to help, you know, maybe some of those individuals realize that there's, that questions help shape where the conversation goes, right? It doesn't have to go in one particular direction. It can go in multiple directions. As you see the conversation we have here, it's like a tree. It's like limbs on a tree and branches off the limbs. Conversation could go a lot of different places depending on what is information is being input into that conversation, right? We've had people come up on stage and we've definitely done that, and I think That's what this community should be about. And if it can't change, then maybe there's a way that we can, I don't know, I don't want to say separate from the group, but but yeah, I mean, essentially, find a way to maybe rebrand what it is that we're a part of. 'Cause I think it's really more than ufology, as we know now. We know there's more to this than just the craft in the sky. There's a whole consciousness element. There's all these other things that are involved in it, even down potentially to the cryptid world that could be a part of this phenomena. And maybe we should be calling it something else. So maybe I'll petition to do that, or maybe we can come up with a term that's good to use, and then in whenever I'm speaking about it anywhere, I'll use that term instead of ufology, and maybe it'll catch on. Maybe other people start doing it. I don't know, but it's going to be a hard task to do, but it's something that I think we need to do within this community. Um, Let me see. Yeah. Let's see. We got Robert White. Keep an open mind, but not so open where your mind may fall out. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I get what you mean by that, Robert White. I know what you're saying, what you're trying to say with that, and you're absolutely correct with that. And Overlander BC says, my biggest beef is when shows entertain guests who are clearly spewing total bullcrap. It has to end. That's the slippery slope, Overlander BC. Hey, I'm with you. I know exactly what you mean because I too have that opinion. I have that opinion as well. It's all part of what I'm saying here. And I think the thing with that is it's, some experiences are so wild that a person may perceive that experience is unreasonable, but that's why I always start out with any conversation that if we were going to sit down with skeptics right now, we're all having a conversation. The first thing I would say is, do you realize we're sitting on a rock that is floating in space, rotating around the sun, a ball of fire that's sitting in the middle of space floating. I realized that in an infinite space, supposedly infinite, as far as we know at this point, in an infinite space, just those things right there sound so bananas and so bonkers that, but it's true. It's literally what's happening right now as far as what we've proven, unless we don't seem to understand what what seems to be true about that. It literally seems like that's what we're doing right now. I mean, we are, right? And it sounds so crazy to even say that, but we're literally doing it right now as we speak. We're traveling through space right now on a ball, on a rock that's round, and we're stuck to it because of gravity. Crazy, right? Also, it's also crazy to think that we had 60-foot lizards walking on the same ground that we're walking on now. There were 60-foot lizards at one point walking on this very same dirt that we're walking on right now. That's also bonkers to think of. So when we start there, then we have to realize that there are definitely other very weird, strange things that are possible. And so when you have someone that's coming to you telling you a story, even though on the face of it, it sounds very strange and weird, and the skeptical side of you may want to look at it like, I don't know. That's why it's kind of hard to, differentiate between who is just clearly lying and who is, telling talking about a really wild encounter that they had. It's kind of hard, but I know exactly what you mean, and I agree with that, Overlander BC. It's definitely, we have to find a way to balance it, and that's kind of what my goal is to do. And when I create the show around that topic, that's what I'm gonna do, but tastefully, respectfully, um, I'm gonna definitely do that. But I'm with you, Overlander BC, and I understand exactly what you are saying, and I actually agree with you on that. Let's see. Okay, Juliana McGill, Tri City Council meeting. This is easy peasy consciousness, big voice, good deeds. Love that. Dev from Sac, Space Cult is a label just like religious fanaticism. Fanaticism, definitely. And even with the guest that I had, the rabbi the last week, I asked him about the space cult question, right? Because it's been labeled as that potentially. I didn't watch any of the documentaries or anything that kind of down their movement because I didn't want to be biased or lean on any side too hard. But I asked the question because I knew it was something that had been said, and you kind of got to confront those sort of things because cults aren't good. Truthfully, I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. Cults are definitely not pro humanity, right? And that's what this channel is all about. So you kind of got to ask those questions. Um, yeah, I mean, you can have an opinion about this Overlander BC's. What I'll say, yeah, R. Keith Andrews is a friend. I met him. He's a really good guy. Dave, if you've listened to Dave, he will tell you he said it on air a few different times that this is R. Keith's truth. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people you could either believe them or not believe them as far as that goes. I don't really know what to say about that because you know, um, R. Keith will even tell you don't believe him, or I don't. It's not that he necessarily pushes what he says as everything he says is true. He just says, "Hey, you don't believe it, you don't believe it." That's and that's about as far as you can go with it. Either you believe him or you don't believe him. But I don't think that R. Keith is even the type of individual that we're talking about when we talk about this. Because what I'm saying is there are literally groups of people that are saying my way is the way and listen to me because what I'm saying is true. Anything that comes through me is what you need to hear, right? Those are the type of individuals because those individuals end up gaining a following of people who just believe and won't question, right? Or keep this open to questions at any time. He'll tell you he doesn't know, and I don't know where he pulls his experiences from because I'm not in his head. I don't know. But I can tell you that he doesn't have any problem with you disagreeing. He won't try to push a narrative on you. If you ask him a question, he'll give his answer. And if that's a true one for you, yay. If it's not, you just move on. You know what I mean? David said this. Our Keith will tell you that as well. But I do understand what you're saying, Overlander BC, and this is a place where we have tough conversations. But like I said, as far as R. Keith, he's a friend. I like him. I met him. He's a really good guy. Awesome, awesome girlfriend, soon to be wife. And like I said, he doesn't try to push the narrative on you. But let me see, who else do we have? Juliana McGill. It's not a travesty, but when everybody says it's just quote drones, you got to put your monkey face on. Yeah, 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 and that's as far as that goes, that's a whole nother conversation because we're allowing them to put labels on these things and and essentially memes. The drone thing was a meme. This egg thing now is a meme. And as we talked about on the last couple of episodes on this channel, it's literally something we probably shouldn't be joking about, right? Because the implications of it are crazy. If true, if we can vet this stuff out, then those two incidents that have been turned into memes are probably two of the biggest things to happen to humanity or for on behalf of humanity, getting us closer to where we're trying to go in a long time. I don't point to something else that was bigger than those two things. And we've literally allowed them to turn it into memes. And even myself, I catch myself saying drones because it's the phrase, it's the term everyone is using and what everyone knows. I rather use a different word, right? And that's why with the crash retrieval show, that's why I tried not to say egg at all because I don't want to continue the narrative that what we saw was an egg. Was it shaped a little weird? Yeah. Was it not perfectly round? Yeah. Was it more oblong? Yeah. Um, anything else but egg, right? So that's how we look at that. Um, let's see. Yeah. And you're not wrong, Overlander BC. You're not wrong. And it's just the Emperor's New Clothes. Everyone knows, but everyone is afraid to speak up and call BS. Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I'm talking about. There is a definitely a subset of people that are literally hurting this community, literally hurting this community and taking advantage of others. You could tune into other places, other channels where you'll see that happening right before your eyes. And, it's that type of stuff. It's that part of it. It's that part of it that I really have the big problem with. And let's see. Philip Blair. Yeah, mob mentalities are very unhelpful. Yeah, and that's why we gotta figure out a way to do it tastefully, like I said, respectfully. It's literally awakening these people who are following these cult leaders is really what it is within this community. And by doing that, you're stopping the grift. You're stopping that person from being able to control a narrative over a huge group of people who hang on that person's every words, right? Yeah, yeah, it's sad, and I see it without calling out names. I think we probably know who we all are talking about. Um, Juliana she's talking to BC saying, BC, when other people aren't shy to be a voice, it makes more people not shy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't worry, I'm gonna find a way to do this. I've done it sort of in a different show that I did, but you know, I want to address it a little better, right? I want to do it concisely. I want to make sure that again it's tasteful and but still says everything that needs to be said, and then maybe even figure out a way to kind of get through that. That's the plan. Let me see. Uh, and now you see News Nation going full tilt, pushing a lot of BS. Now I don't know about that, Overlander. I'll say this. I understand where you're coming from. I understand exactly where you're coming from. Yes, News Nation has begun to, and more so, Ross Coulthard more specifically, has began to have more experiencers on his show, is what I'll say on Reality Check. Um, I don't see that necessarily as a bad thing because I think what has happened already in the on the main stage is, a few years ago they literally cut the experiencers out, and I know why, because there's a subset of experiencers that are just telling total BS, right? You don't want to bring a person like that into the main conversation on the national stage. So, in order to, instead of sifting through individuals to figure out who's real and who's not, they rather just stay away from the whole thing. Um, which I get, and that's kind of it's bad for us who have real stories to tell because we would like to tell those stories on the main stage, but we don't end up getting the chance to because of that very reason. And that's why we have to do exactly what I'm talking about, figure out a way to kind of separate from that in order to have those moments where we can get on that major stage and be part of a group that garners more respect in the conversation. And maybe that's as simple as changing ufology to something else, or going a little deeper. But like I said, I'll be spending time thinking about that, and I'll figure out a way to do a show around that because I think it's very important. Um, let's see, anything else going on this here topic before we get into some other stuff? Um, yeah, yeah, exactly. Deb from Sacramento. I can think of a few hosts on channels that have a cult like mentality. If you don't agree with them or oppose their views, chip chop. Yeah, yeah. And like I said, I have asked I have asked around this community, different hosts, uh, you know, what do you think on the humanity aspect of this? Like, some don't have answers for it. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, what is the long term goal, right? How many of these channels go away once disclosure happens because now they have no other narratives to push because now disclosure is here. So you can't push false narratives anymore now that the truth is out, right? So a lot of those channels go away the moment that disclosure comes. A lot of those channels don't have any plan on what to do with their channels post disclosure. And that's very important because disclosure is only part of where we're going here. There's still a whole thousands of years that have to still transpire after disclosure. There's a whole post disclosure existence, and not a lot of people are having that conversation. But and maybe that'll be one of the things, And like I said, I've been thinking about it a long time, as you can see. But you know, I think for sure disclosure definitely gets rid of a lot of those channels unless they switch their grift up. But I don't see how they'd be able to if now the truth is realized, at this point. And okay, now we know there's this particular type of extraterrestrial. So now the people that talk about these other type of extraterrestrials, now that might be out the window because now we have a truth of what it is that we're dealing with, right? So then we could kind of sift out at that point, because some people sit here and say which maybe I'm sure there are because the universe is so big. There's got to be various different races, but how many are we actually interacting with would be the question, right? How many are actually interacting here with us? Maybe there's only one. Maybe there's a handful. Maybe there's not hundreds, as some people say. And obviously, in a moment of disclosure, you kind of get to start checking things off the list, which I think makes it tough because there's the unknown element to it right now. There's an unknown. We don't have all the answers. It allows for that grift to happen. Um, but once we get the answers, then all of a sudden you'll find out that uh, immediately that some of the things that people were saying prior to us knowing an answer kind of fell by the wayside because now they can no longer push that narrative that they're attempting to push. So that's going to be a beautiful day because that'll take care of a lot of that grift all in one swipe. Um, let's see, who else do we have out here saying something? Yeah, they want groupies to worship them, not rational thinking people. Yeah, yeah. I mean, exactly. Definitely true statement, Deb. And let's see, just kind of going through here. Yeah. Yep, it has to change from the inside. We have a whole new city council in time for a new manager. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great analogy to use, Juliana, because that's kind of what the same sort of thought process, right? You got to, how do you clean up the inside, right? How do you, you know, when you can't chop the head off, usually if you chop the head off, the body dies. But if you can't chop the head off, you have to take a different approach and work from within. And that's kind of what we have to do here. Um, let's see. Uh, okay, Cielo Azul says, I don't like know-it-alls, left channels because of that, and them calling their subs dumb because they don't know everything or believe what they say. That's exactly what we're talking about, Cielo. So that's exactly, I mean, who has time for that? Like literally, we're trying to do something that affects or get to answers that affect, humanity. The whole planet, like every living person on the planet, like the topic we're engaged in and the answers we're trying to get to literally affect every person on this planet. Everyone, even the grifters, unfortunately, even the grifters, right? I think they're humans at least. They it affects them too. So it would be in their best interest, but that's where the selfishness comes from because if you looked at th- just as we described, this is not really for us. This is for our children, grandchildren, and on down the line. Then you would have to assume that those people that are taking advantage don't really care about that. They don't care about how this affects their descendants. They just care about how this affects them, which is red flag number one and totally against anything that this community is supposed to be about. And for me to be a person, if you know me, if you've been around the channel long enough or you've heard me talk about this stuff long enough, then you already know I'm a person that loves people and cares for people and where we go. And that's the reason why this channel even exists. There's no other reason why this channel exists than exactly what I just said right there. It's look in the description on this channel. Look at the first video that I posted on this channel. It's a welcome video and it talks about what the direction of this channel is and where this channel should go. Very first video I posted on here. If you go watch that video and then you hear what we're talking about right now, you're like, oh yeah, yeah, that aligns with exactly what he was saying. Yeah, consciousness is a good name. I thought about that, Julianne. I was like, how could we? Consciousness is definitely, maybe something a spinoff of that word somehow. Um, but it definitely has to be something else. Ufology is just. It sounds for me just off the bat too much like Scientology, and we know Scientology is a cult. And you can check out the episode I did on Scientology being a cult right here on this channel. I did part one and part two. Definitely watch it. And we call out cults here. We have no problems doing that. Um, let's see, what else do we have? The ufology community is cannibalistic, like Sasquatch community, but to the nth degree. Yeah, and I don't think it's the open-minded individuals aren't, I don't think, part of that though. That's the thing. See, that cannibalistic part comes from that side that we're trying to separate ourselves from because everyone else is we're too busy trying to forward the conversation and listening to other people's opinions. So we don't have time to be cannibalistic. It's that same part of the community that we're talking about trying finding a way to be able to separate from or differentiate ourselves from is the part of the community that ends up cannibalizing the working part of this community. it's sad to say, we're doing the legwork and trying to move the needle in the conversation forward on behalf of the grifters and the other ones that are just not or you know that don't have that same mindset. Uh, the mindset, you know, the mindset to help others, right? Essentially, it's the best way I could say that right now. Um, Overlander. I like the term hot rod flying saucer with aliens in it. Hey, call it what you want, man. Truthfully, is hey, it's we're open to it. It's as long as the goal is the same, call it hot rod. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Call it whatever you want to. Just as long as the people, the people who may not fully understand what we do or why we do it, as long as they understand, okay, yeah, that's a group of people. They're just trying to move humanity forward. That's all they're trying to do, by getting questions answered about, in this case, things that are in the sky. It could be something different next time. It doesn't always have to be about, UFOs. UFOs is just the topic that is facing humanity right now in this moment. Next, it could be how do we avoid asteroid impacts, or it could be a numerous list of things. And I think that's the part that's unrealized because we're still dealing with this moment in time that is could be game shifting and will be game changing for humanity as a whole. So I think we'll it'll be realized afterwards that, really what being pro humanity is all about. It's about various things that affect humanity, not just UFOs, but it just happens to be in this moment that that's what we're dealing with. So, and you'll see that also on this channel. We try to cover other subjects besides just UFOs because there are other issues that affect humanity. That's why we did the cult show, the cult of Scientology, because there's a group of people in that organization that are literally being taken advantage of. That group of individuals isn't doing things really to progress humanity, right? So there's various things that we could be talking about under that banner and ways that we could help humanity, right? Let's see. Deb followed the numbers, and I'm kind of behind on this chat, guys. I know you guys are putting stuff in here, and I'm kind of back, but I wanted to make sure that I got what you guys. Make sure your the good questions or comments are put up on screen. Follow the money and the numbers. Clicks, they're easy to spot. Great way to put it out. So for those who may not know who these people are in the community, follow Deb's advice right there, and you'll see exactly who they are. Then once you've recognized who they are, it's about trying to figure out how to separate yourself from those, or either get them out of the community or separate yourselves from that, right? Um, let's see. Let's see. Okay, Overland NBC. Like I know when people are making things up because I remember what they said years back and see inconsistencies and contradictions. People forget that some people don't forget. Yeah, that's one way to do it. That's for sure. That's for sure. I'll say this. I'll say this. Obviously, if you're in this community, if you look at the skeptical side, there's a show out there, Lou Reviews, right? Lou Jimenez. And Lou calls out a lot of individuals within ufology. And I consider Lou a friend. I don't really have a problem with him doing that. I message him, I'll applaud him on certain things. I'll tell him, sometimes he has a thought process that's opposite from how I think, but there are certain things, or certain individuals that he may call out that need to be called out. And hey, if no one else is going to do it, that's kind of where I'm at with that. But we definitely don't always see eye to eye on certain things. But Just the calling out aspect, I don't really have a problem with. If it's if it fits, if you're just slandering somebody to slander, there's no value there. But if you are calling out a grift because it's an actual grift that you're seeing, yeah, do that, please, please. Let's see. Philip Blair says, "How about 14?" If I'm saying that right, probably aren't. Mr. Rob G goes back to before the term UFO, back to Charles Fort in the Book of the Damned in 1919, a mysterious phenomenon that scientists were discouraged from investigating. Oh, interesting, Philip Blair. I'll have to tag this and I'll look further into that because yeah, you might have something there. That might be exactly what we need to do. Maybe go it no, exactly that. I mean, you have the right idea. I like that, Philip. That's awesome. Let's see. Skeptics are all but hurt egos. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely good intentioned skeptics, and like I said, it's just the yin and yang, right? You need the yin and yang. You got to have both, right? But it's just the extreme side that you can't reason with. Those are the ones that may fall under that. But for the most part, skeptics are cool. They're no different than you and I. So let's see. Let's see. Yeah, Sweet Robbie G raises the bar in honesty and integrity. It's what it's all about. That's what I'm at first and foremost, and that's something about me. Once you have violated that part, I look at you different and I feel different about you. You have to be genuine. You have to be a genuine person in my eyes. You got to be genuine person, cares about people, and we're good. But the moment that you show any of that other stuff, the shifty stuff, I can't look at you the same. I can't. I can't. And usually it only takes but time for someone to show their true colors. That's a fact. Juliana McGill, skeptics equal Kool-Aid. True, true. Let's see. Yep. Joe Monk, good rant. Robbie G, I'll rant with you. That's right. That's what we need, man. That's what we need. That's what we need. And, you know, it's a lot of greed involved in that too, because the people that do that, they do it because they see dollar signs. They see the ability to take advantage of a group of people who will allow that to happen, and my integrity just won't let me do that. It just will never let me do that. Okay. I'm trying to catch up, but it seems like I'm getting further behind. So let me skip through some of these. I can't read every one. But this is a great comment, Bomber. So I'm gonna bring this up. Um, there's a difference between being a skeptic and a naysayer. One uses discernment, looks into topics, and questions. The other is already decided what is and what isn't, and doesn't bother to look. Can I get a round? Where's my round of applause button? I don't have it right here, right now, Bomber, but I would give you that because that is so true and well put. Let's see. Yeah, you know, I I like this comment too, Philip Blair. This tells me Mick West is either intellectually lazy or deliberately doing disinformation, like Philip Class was doing during. I don't know what that is. I would say the first part is probably intellectually lazy on some of these things. I call him quick guess Mick West. And I applaud what McWest does, though, because having being a skeptic, and when he does what he's supposed to do, the due diligence of breaking something down and coming to a conclusion based on a set of facts that he's able to put together, I don't have a problem with that part of it. But there are times where he is so quick to answer to something that he literally couldn't have taken the time to thought to think through some of these responses that he gives. Just like with my sighting, when I put my sighting out there, he replied back, said they were birds. Like, you didn't do any further yet. Like, anyone on the face is gonna see a V pattern of objects in the sky and assume they're birds. Very lazy analysis, right? So I can agree with you on that. I have my own personal experience there, but I think I've seen him do a lot more deep dives on things where I think the work was better and even needed in some cases. I think perfect example with the drone situation. He and Stephen Greenstreet got together and kind of put it out there that some of these objects were being caught on flight tracker. So that alone, no one else brought that to the forefront to say, "Hey, check flight tracker," and so you can eliminate some of these things as possibilities. And he did that, so you got to give him props for that. And there are a few other things he's done too. But let me see. All right, let me go. Let me scroll. Joe Monk says, I would love to sit behind Rob just to be there and throw in my 2 cents. Hey, anytime, Joe Monk, anytime. And the stage is open. I put the link out there in the chat. This is a new setup, a new program too. So joining the show is a little different. But if you click that link, it should take you through some steps to do that. So you could always throw your 2 cents in at any time. Let me see. Let me try to catch up here, get current at least. Um, yeah, I gotta scroll down. I'm way behind. That's like I hadn't even got to this yet. Super chat, Dev from Sack. Do appreciate your support of the channel. Appreciate Rob G for having the integrity to build bridges to bring us together in the way we communicate in our community. Thank you, Deb. That means a lot. In the comment even means more. Um, because it just shows appreciation and what I'm trying to do. You know what I mean? I'm just up here speaking truths. That's it. Not trying to push any narratives, and you guys are all open minded, free thinkers, and you actually add to the conversation. So really do appreciate that love and support of the channel. Even though it was like 20 minutes ago, I missed that. Sorry. Um, I'm scrolling down the list and about 15 minutes behind. Let me bring myself current. Okay. 7 minutes behind. Okay, and maybe we could talk to this. Welcome to the show. Let me just get current and go back. Let's see. Hmm, couple great questions, actually. Let me try to star that and save this one too. Overlander BC came to talk, man. I like that, man. I like that. Let's see. All right. So welcome to the show. Ask this. Good morning, G. I don't buy simulation theory. What are your thoughts? Simulation theory. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I understand how simulation theory could apply. If you look at like The Sims, the world of The Sims. I don't know if anybody played The Sims before. But they have all, we used to play these computer games back in the early 2000s, and I think Sims might have been one of them, where you build this community, you build infrastructure, you build these towns. These towns begin to operate. These towns begin to generate money. Then you have citizens of that community move into the community, and they do their day to day work and make the community go and flow. um and I guess to make simulation theory a thing, is all it would take is like the movie Free. Was it Free Guy, right? Where the NPC characters become to realize, to have consciousness essentially, and only to find out that they're actually characters in a game, in a simulation. And I think if there is awareness there, like AI, for instance, AI going into a lot of games now. Like I don't know if anyone here is even familiar with games like Grand Theft Auto. Right, is one I can use because I played it. I play it occasionally now as well. But it's an open world. It's this world, and you living in this world. You can get a car, you can get a house, you can drive around, you can go buy food, and things you would do in normal life, right? And they're beginning to they I saw a clip of this different game that they were developing, where NPC characters, instead of having pre-programmed things that they would say when you encounter them, they would all have AI. So your conversations could vary and could go in all sorts of different places and different routes. So I think when you implement AI into that, it may on some level make the characters in those sort of games become sentient almost, and maybe alive in that world per se. So when you looking at it like that, may I don't feel like necessarily we are in a simulation, but I think we have examples of things that we've created that may be able to take on their own lives. In a world, if you understand what I'm saying, in a world that they understand, right? So maybe simulation theory going down from humanity, but I don't think we are part of a simulation, right? If that makes any sense. But AI is a scary thing, I'm telling you. And we did a show on AI here on this channel, and something, if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. But AI is a scary thing, man. And one, like I said, just they've already implemented it into a game. I've seen it, you know, where you could literally walk your character up to a NPC, which is a non-playable character in a game, and have depending on you have a voice box on, right? So you can talk into the game, and when you talk into the game, that character, based off of what you said, will respond in its own way, and the conversation could be very varied, right? So that's kind of where that could come into play. Welcome to the show. Hopefully that answered that question. But Overlander BC says, I think a good question for everyone to ask is 2020 in 2025 is, what do you want disclosure to accomplish? Like, is it to know aliens are here, or is it bigger than that? Yeah, that's I ask that question all the time, Overlander. That's the thing I was saying earlier. That's the thing I asked to this community. I asked to host, like, what do you really want? Do you even really want disclosure? Because the truth is, when disclosure comes, if those individuals aren't thinking past that, disclosure is their money pot. So as long as disclosure has never come and the goalpost keeps moving, then they're able to still exist and push their narrative, right? Until disclosure comes. So, you know, speaking for this channel, for me, um, we're looking way past disclosure. The conversations we have mainly is what do we do once disclosure happens? Like, where do we go after that? Because we can't wait until disclosure, the moment of disclosure, to start having those conversations. You got to already have been spitballing before that, right? So when the moment comes, you've at least talked through some different scenarios, and you know which way you like for humanity to go. Because I don't feel like I don't feel like we'll have another moment like this in humanity's history, probably for another 1,000 years, or probably even longer than that. Not a game changing, direction changing moment for humanity as a whole. This is literally one of those moments. I said another one could be an asteroid impact. We know an asteroid is going to impact Earth and maybe wipe out the entire planet. Then that too would be a humanity shifting moment, right? Where the decisions that we make determine what happens to humanity. If we exist, which way do we go? Do we go off planet? What do we do? Right? That's literally what we're doing now, right? And there's different things, like I said, different conversations outside of UFOs that we could be having, that we will have as time goes on, right? Um, let's see. Overlander again. You come up with some good stuff, man. I don't want disclosure. I want the end of BS on all fronts: governments, aliens, weather, science, all of it. There's no more BS. We cannot advance as a species like this. So, would you believe me if I said you actually do want disclosure then? Because disclosure is what gets rid of the BS. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's the moment where the BS exists within this bubble of society that has been created for humans, that you were born into, I was born into, our grandparents was born into. This machine, this thing has been going on way before all of us. But we were born into this. The BS can exist inside of that bubble. So unless you can break the machine or unplug from the matrix, right, is what they say on the matrix, unless you can do that, then you can't get away from the BS. The only way you can do that is to unplug. And the only type of moments that humans will face where you can unplug are game changing moments like disclosure, or game changing moments like an asteroid impact. Things that really shake up everything and get everyone's attention at once. As long as things happen and only certain groups are paying attention, certain groups on this issue, certain groups on that issue, then you won't be able to ever affect the change that you're talking about. It has to be a moment that affects everyone at once. So pick your thing. There's a million things you probably could find that would affect everyone at once. That's those are the moments where you can break this the mold, right? And kind of get out of this thing that's been created. That, yeah, it's a lot of BS that goes along with that, but it takes moments like disclosure, or get world shifting moments like an asteroid impact, in order to have that. We don't want an asteroid impact, so I'd rather have disclosure instead of that, right? Let's see. Boo, 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 boo. I can manage. Da, 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 da. Collective. Okay, let me just keep going. Yeah, Magneticus. I don't feel like giving the site access to my mic and camera. Yeah, I mean, you got to do it. You had to do it with that other program too, though. But let me see. That shows like this, amidst all the troubles in the world, we can come together for short time, unity and friendship. That's a cool comment. Welcome to the show. I'll put that up. Um, I think it's awesome in shows like this, amidst all the troubles in the world, we can come together and oops, we can come together for a short time with unity and friendship. Man, that's what it's all about. That embodies exactly, you know, why this is what it is. It's not to be a guy. I don't care about, you know, I just happen to be the person hosting the show. That's what it is, and have the ability to speak to people. But other than that, I'm no different than anybody else, man. I have the same ambitions out and hopes for humanity that all you guys have, and we're all brothers and sisters in this thing, man. And I'm glad to be able to provide a place for that. Really, um, yeah. Let's see. Come on, hey, you got aliens. Put up a question saying, "Hi, Rob. How do you think the 500 billion recently put towards artificial intelligence will shape the near future of humanity?" I did a show on humanity that kind of talks about this. And on the thumbnail is the face of an AI robot, and then next to it is a nuclear mushroom cloud destroying everything. So I think the thumbnail says exactly what I think about that. AI could be weaponized in so many different ways. AI could decide to wipe us all out. The best thing I would say, hey yo, you got aliens. The best thing to do, go back and watch that episode. It's only a few episodes back. Like I said, it has the robot face on it with the big mushroom cloud, but I kind of lay it out pretty good in there as far as the dangers of AI and why it's probably not a good idea to continue with it. And so that's what I would say there. I think I laid it out pretty good there on that one. Let's see. Yeah, so Elon is not putting a chip in my brain. Guess what? You won't be going to Mars then. I don't think you heard earlier today. I didn't even know about that whole AI thing, but you're dealing with a person that holds the keys to humanity going off planet. One person holds those keys, and I did a show about that too. The Elon Musk show talked about if it's the new world order. Another deep show. We have a lot of deep conversations on this channel. Check, I would say, Cielo, if you haven't seen that show, take a look at that one, man, because I literally agree with you on that, and I talk about why it's so dangerous to allow one person to be in control of all these things that could affect where humanity goes. He's the gatekeeper to a lot of different things. Starlink, global internet. Is it really to benefit people who live out in the rural areas? Is that really the reason why that was put up? And if it starts off as something genuine like that, which is noble, right? A noble thing to do, how could that be if one day he turned in and said, "You know what? Now I'm supervillain." How could having global internet benefit someone who has those nefarious or bad intentions? See, that's where it starts getting tricky. Dad says, Ron, if you have the opportunity to interview Elon Musk, would you want to? And what would you ask him? I would definitely want to, and I would ask him exactly what we were just talking about. Like, do you realize that you are a gatekeeper to a lot of the things that a lot of the ways that humanity can move forward. What is your true intent there? Are you ever afraid that even with the fragile state of some human minds, that you could literally, you know, for better terms, go crazy, get dementia, or something that would allow your perspective to change on your, as far as your intent on how you use these things, and could these things be weaponized? I mean, that's a great question to ask somebody like that, because it literally is the reality of the situation. Old age. There's a few different things that could all of a sudden change uh, what that person's intent is. And so even if it starts out as good, genuine intent, it could literally not end up being that in the end, right? So that I would go down that path with them, because I think it's very important for the world to know that. And we talk about where he was born and all that stuff too. Talk about all that, but I'd ask him that because it's really I think a pressing issue, right? When it comes to holding the keys to the future of humanity. All right, still about 7 minutes behind, man. I'm just gonna scroll down so we can get fully. I believe on NHR. Okay, hey yo, you got aliens. Rob, do you believe NHI are more on the positive or negative towards humanity today? Um, I'll lean on. I had a great guest on After Hours interview twice. Really, really, I like where this guy's mind is at. His name is Reed Summers, and I brought him on the first time because I saw him on a different program, and I was like, you know what, the way he thinks about this phenomena, and because most people look at it as love and light. There's nothing malevolent about what is happening here, and I just always had the question, like, how do you, that might have been your experience, but how could you say that either one, you're not being deceived by extraterrestrial consciousness or whatever's talking to you to make you feel this way? Is it possible you're being deceived by that, and the whole intent is something totally different? A lot of people don't know what to say when asked that question. Also, um Reed talks about looking at their intent based on things that you can observe, like behaviors that you could observe. Like, why are they creeping around and covertly? Why are they doing certain things? Why is the behavior seems to be this way? That kind of leads you down, once again, like a logical thought process, a road to get to maybe the answer for that. And that's why I love talking to him, because we kind of get to have that sort of conversation. And we'll be doing that again. And let's see. All right, we are almost caught up. Okay. All right, I think we are caught up, about 1 minute behind. Let's see. Yeah, okay, and we're current. And yeah, this is a good point, Overlander BC. Malevolence might not look like lasers and cages. It might look more like herding and breeding programs. And that could be, being that we don't have the answers, I'm open to that right there. I'm open to that statement. It could literally be that. It could be either one of those. It could be lasers and cages, and we just haven't confronted that, or it could literally be herding and breeding, like a farm planet, right? Or a some people say prison planet. I played with the thought process that maybe we are, as humans, are parasitic species. like any other parasite, do you think if a parasite has a consciousness, which I don't know if they do or don't, as far as human parasites, right? Parasites that infect human beings, um, they obviously are negative. They destroy the body. They do all these sorts of things. But do you think if you were the parasite yourself, would you feel that way or look at yourself that way? Probably not. And that's why I go a little further. Like, are human beings potentially parasitic species? Because we do nothing but destroy this planet, right? We do everything. Most of the things we do, and not all of us, but I'm just speaking for humanity, because there's bad seeds obviously that have done things to destroy the planet, and it seems like we've made species go extinct, animals on this planet. So many negative things to go against the health of this planet that you have to ask yourself at some point: are humans a parasitic species? And then, are we being kept on planet by extraterrestrials? Are they trying to make sure we stay here and that we don't have the ability to leave from here and go out and do parasitic things in the rest of the universe? I think there's a strong case for that to be made, even though I'm a human myself and I wouldn't like to think that that's what we are. But it's a serious thing to contemplate, because if you think about it that way, you can look around yourself and see a lot of parasitic type behaviors that we have. And I think that, you know, I think you could look at certain things, right, to kind of look at that. Let's see. What else do we have here? Okay. Who pointed this out? Mike Bothwell. I'm sure Mars is probably reserved for the important rich people in the world, just in case Earth goes to shit. It's interesting you brought that up, because as I talked about the Elon Musk show that I did, that was one of the points that I made, right? Who determines who gets to leave this planet? If you have a gatekeeper, a person that holds the keys to human beings being off planet, who's to say that everybody gets to go? Newsflash, everyone won't get to go. It will likely be only the ones that could afford seats on the ship. There's going to be, in that reality, there's going to be essentially a break off civilization of human beings, right? Which you'll have some living here, which will probably be the poorest people out of the people on the globe currently, and then you'll have this other planet over there, which will be the people who were able to afford to go. Yeah, you got to watch that show. You got to watch that Elon show that I did to kind of lay all that out. It's just interesting that you pointed out that out and brought that up. Um, right. Elon Musk put a chip in my head. Philip Blair says, "When can I put a chip in his head?" That's the key. He hasn't done it yet, right? I don't, as far as I know, he hasn't, and he probably never will. That's just for the other people, right? That's just for people like you and I, or maybe not even you and I. Maybe it's another level of individuals that'll have those chips, and we're not worth having them. I don't know. It's hard to say. Let's see. Overlander is saying, here's why I buy the threat narrative, Rob. The hybrid program has been going on for 50 years. A sperm egg sample can be 100 or more, way more viable beings. Where are all the bodies? Nom, nom, nom. I'm with you. I actually think, to go along with that, that there is, when we talk about abductions, right? Because as far as David Politis says, and numbers that have been gathered there, which blew my mind. Actually, there's like, conservatively, I want to say it was somewhere around 800,000 people go missing in the United States alone. That just blew my mind that that many people every year go missing. And then you look at the abduction situation, right? So many people say, "Oh my gosh, I've been abducted," and I believe potentially more people than not may have been abducted and just don't realize it. Because I don't think you're really supposed to know that you've been abducted. Just like we tranquilize animals, and by the time they wake up, we're gone, and they have no idea what happened while they were. I think it's supposed to be more like that, but I'm under the idea that if they are abducting people, that the only reason why we know about it is because we hear the stories of people that they've brought back. Is there a group of people that have not been brought back? I mean, if they're taking people to begin with and they're bringing people back, what makes you think that they've done that every single time? Obviously, the people that if this is a situation where they haven't brought people back, you're not going to know if you can't hear from those people, right? If those people aren't here to tell the story, you're not going to know that they were ab- abducted by an alien and then never returned. They're just going to be among, as Steve Stockton says, among the missing. Going to be among the missing, and you're going to be right in one of Steve Stockton's stories, which is not really to laugh at that, but it's kind of ironic, right? Mm. It's a good perspective, Lex. I never really thought about that. Maybe Earth is a breeding program for humans. That's why aliens are interested in nukes because the cattle found a way to burn down the whole farm. That's interesting. That is interesting. I've never really thought about that. Let's see. Yes, this is a good one. Hey, yo, you got aliens, Rob? Don't you have a family member that is employed at NASA? I do. I do. If so, do you know their thoughts on ufology and NHI? Doesn't really didn't initially buy into it. Um, you know, when I sort of came into this community a few years ago, I was totally like not, and truthfully, as recently as even maybe 6 months ago, was like nah. But the more, I always point out to this family member that this stuff is actually in Congress. They're talking about this. They're having hearings. They're doing all these things. Like, hey, this isn't just some crazy talk. They're taking this seriously. They kind of walk them down that path. And then with the drone situation and how that's all playing out, I think he's kind of coming around, but I don't know for sure uh, where his mind state is at the moment. Though I'll tell you that this person works on the drone program for NASA. I'll tell you that works in aeronautics. So was able to give me some insight on if what we were seeing last month had anything to do with any sort of thing that NASA may have been doing. And he really couldn't say anything to me about that. Uh, so I asked, do you think, in your eyes, do you think what you're seeing or what's being described here are what you would consider drones? And said no. So he was able to answer that. Wasn't really able to say too much more, obviously, because of things that they sign over there. But I think he's coming around to the idea, truthfully. Uh, I'm just gonna bring this up because it's funny, majorly, and I see you keep posting this throughout this thing here for the last week or so. A lot of chat that the egg UFO is the nose cone from S Nimbus. Oh, from a Nimbus weather drone. It was lifted up along with its fuselage. I see you say that a lot, and I believe that's a joke, right? I don't believe that's a statement there. 20 and back, nah. Ah, super crazy movie geek. 20 and back. I don't know. I really, the time travel part of this whole conversation hasn't. I haven't come around to time travel yet. I just don't. You know, maybe it's a thing. I don't. I don't see anything that points to that, necessarily being a thing. Just like extraterrestrials being future us, I'm not really in that boat. I think it's more logical with the type of ships or craft that they're in and the way as fast as they're able to move, that it's more likely that these things, it would appear that craft that move that fast are built to travel long distances, is what it would appear. Because why else what would be the need for these things to move so fast? Like, why would they be able to blink and be 60 miles away in 1 second? What's the need for that if you're traveling on planet, right? I don't see a need for that. It just only makes sense if you're traveling extraordinary long distances to have developed that sort of speed. So, um, yeah, I'm just not with the on the time travel thing yet. I haven't got there yet. Let's see. Yeah, this is just something I don't even know how you even approach this one. I think we've all by Cielo Azul. I think we've all been screwed to be born on Earth. Seriously, God made us all. We're born in the wrong place. I don't know. I mean, that's to be seen. It just we really have to see why we're here, um, which is one of the answers we're trying to get as we figure out disclosure. Maybe disclosure gives us the answer, or if we ever get to sit down and talk to these beings from wherever they're at, maybe they figured the answer out since they're supposedly, further along than we are as far as existence goes. But yeah, that's gonna always be a tough one. Um, Thank you. Welcome to the show for your support of the show tonight. Do appreciate that. A white unicorn with rainbow hair. Okay. Was that might be to some addressing someone else. I've heard this. Yeah, some people report waking up above the bed and falling down onto it after abduction. I think Dave said something like that, if I remember correctly. I can't say that I've ever been abducted at all. I don't. I have a couple weird marks that I think are weird, and I don't ever remember, where they ever came from. Any situation where they would have come from, scars, things of that nature. But the closest thing I had to that I think for an abduction, and maybe I have. That's part of what regression might uncover. But there was a night that I talked about recently here at this house where I was in bed and I was awake and I'm looking at the TV and I couldn't I couldn't stay awake. It was weird. It's if you've dozed off before, right? If you've been awake and you kind of just dozed off. So it was almost like that, but when I dozed off or what it appeared to be dozing off, I was still watching the television. The television's still there. I'm still in bed. I'm still nothing changed about anything around what was going on. There's nothing that changed. But when I was in this, I guess, sleep side of, I guess maybe sleep, I don't know. I felt something grabbing on my legs. My leg was hanging off the bed. And it was like a physical something grabbing onto my leg. And it freaked me out so much that I woke up I'm guessing, but it's weird because the reality of what was around me did not change at all. So regardless on if it appeared I had dozed off or I was woke, I couldn't tell what side I was on. Very strange to even explain, but I think that might have been the closest to anything like that I could even recall. Let's see. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think we're good. I think we're good. So let me see if there's anything else that we could jump into here. Yeah, so I think Tim Burchett, and I'm gonna look further into this. I just saw this briefly before we went on tonight, the show earlier at Spaced Out Radio. But Tim Burchett, I guess, talked recently about a USO that he was briefed on that was the size of a football field. And we're hearing more and more of things like that because the whistleblower, Fred Fred Baker, came out and talked about being with an individual that, and they both saw this mothership, what they're saying, mothership type craft that was more than a football field wide. And it's just insane to think about those sort of things being out there. But people are reporting them. I've never seen one myself. I think I would be. I always look up in the sky anytime I go outside, especially at night, because the bigger ships I think are probably seen at night, more so than not. So whenever I go out, take the trash out, or go out to go anywhere, and it's nighttime, as soon as I get under the sky, out of the building and under the sky, first thing I do is I look up at the sky and I scan around, and it's just a habit now. I just do it every single time, and it frightens me that I think one of those days, when I do that, I'm gonna look up and see something astronomically huge and not know how to process it, right? Because I hear people do that. You'll hear Richard Dolan talk about how people have gone outside to smoke cigarette at 2 in the morning and look up and see something huge like that silently floating, you know, a few 100 feet above homes and things like that. That's the stuff that's creepy and scary. You know, that's the stuff that I hope I don't ever have to encounter. But yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to shut this thing down. We had a great night tonight. A lot of good questions and input here tonight, and I do appreciate everybody doing that and support of the show as well. I don't know how to get back to the super chat so I can thank. I think I know Deb from SAC. Welcome to the show, Lee. I want to thank you guys both. And I didn't even get to these slides here. Let me go ahead and bring these up real quick here. The stuff of the show, right? Stuff we always talk about and cover every show. The phone number, just to put in your phone if you are here for the first time, you want to participate in the call in show. I'm still setting things up for the actual, because I'm in a new program. So to connect the phone and do all that, it's going to take a little more time. But this is the number. So put in your phone 856-843-3444. That's 856 the dig. If you're outside the United States, you can call in by dialing 001 first, then the number 856-843-3444. Or the 001-856 the dig. Also, Memberships are available. Become a social soldier today. You can do that anytime clicking the link in the description, which will give you a link for memberships. And whatever you do goes to helping this channel, help make this a better viewing experience. If you've been around from day one, then you'll know that we have elevated, we've moved the needle, raised the bar as far as that goes for viewing pleasure. And we're going to continue to do that. I want to hire editors and do things like that so we can really make this, solidify this as a place where you should come to try to move the needle. And want to thank our members: and Joanne, the Beekeeper, D. Nunley, Maggie M10 Flat 6, Miss Catherine Jones, Cosmic Joe Chronicles, Wes Decker, W. Decker, Steel Pooh 69, and Polly Rotterman. Thank you so much for your support of the channel. And we do have a social shop where we sell swag. So you can get Social Dig gear right over there at the social shop. You can do that at any time. Let's see here. Also, we have, okay, yeah. Well, I have a commercial that I don't have in this studio, but we have humanity shirts that I'm actually making on my own. So I'm making them and sending them out. Um, so what you'll have to do maybe is go on my channel and check out the commercial. I have a standalone commercial that you can look at. It'll show the humanity shirts, and it literally is what this channel stands for: the positive progression of humanity. We have a few different designs there, and if you end up ordering one of those, we have an email address, which is order socialswag at gmail.com. You would email me there, let me know which one you wanted. There's like 4 different designs. And then after we figure all that out, then you would send the payment for the shirts to this Cash App, which is Mr. Rob G. Um, and we'll play it next time. I'll have it set up and ready to go next time. But outside of that, I think that is it. Okay, we got that. Okay, yep. I think we're good. Let me see. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this is the most important part. This is what this is all about. So this is why we do this. Let me move the comment out the way here. This channel exists, and everything we do on this channel is because of what you see right here, and it's the positive progression of humanity. If you see below, you see the sea of people out there. That's you, me, everybody else out there in this world. We do it for, that's why we do it, right? And this is, what this channel is based off of, and uh, it'll always be that way. So definitely, it's something that means a lot to me in doing this for the people and making sure we have a place, as like someone said earlier, a place to come and get together and have these kind of talks. And I think tonight was a good one. So with that being said, let me go ahead and get back on screen here so we can get ready to shut this thing down. Definitely want to thank everybody out there for spending your time with me. I'm already, what is this? Let's see. We did a show earlier, it was about 2 hours. We did the after hour show, which is 3 hour show. We did this show right here, which is 2 hours. That's 7 hours of streaming today. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up so I can get some sleep. I do appreciate everybody coming in wherever in the world you guys are watching from. Have a great rest of your day. You guys all take care. Later.